All right, ready to dive into some serious ancient Mesopotamian lore.
Always up for that.
Today, we're tackling the Anunnaki.
Oh, those are a big deal.
They are. We want to know the real story, right? Beyond those ancient astronaut theories.
Exactly. Let's get into it.
So we're going beyond the surface level today, finding out who the Anunnaki really were, according to those ancient texts.
Sounds good.
And why their story still resonates thousands of years later. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting how they've managed to remain relevant, across cultures and throughout history. Unlike a lot of ancient deities,
Yeah, that's true.
they pop up everywhere. You've got the Sumerians, the Babylonians.
It's like they're woven into our collective imagination at this point.
And even into those modern conspiracy theories, which is a whole other thing.
Oh, for sure. But let's rewind a bit, back to those original Mesopotamian texts.
Back to the source. I like it.
What can those tell us about who the Anunnaki actually were?
Well, the name itself, right? Anunnaki, it translates to princely offspring.
Okay, princely offspring.
Yeah, they were considered direct descendants of the god of the sky,
Right.
Kia, the earth goddess.
Okay, so already we're talking serious pedigree here.
Oh, absolutely. This makes them incredibly important in the Mesopotamian worldview. Think of it as a time before heaven and earth were separated.
That separation of heaven and earth, that's kind of a big deal, right?
Absolutely. Enlil, who was one of the most prominent Anunnaki,
Okay.
is actually credited with that separation.
Wow.
He's often associated with wind, storms,
Makes sense.
which I think really reflects this powerful act of creation,
Right.
but also the potential for destruction, too.
Yeah, for sure.
It speaks to how the Mesopotamians viewed nature, I think.
Totally. Both life-giving and incredibly powerful.
Exactly.
It adds a whole new layer to this whole princely offspring thing, doesn't it?
It does.
They weren't just like born into privilege.
Right.
They were shaping the very fabric of existence.
That's a good way to put it.
So how did the ancient Mesopotamians view these like crazy powerful deities? Were they this unified group with a really clear purpose? Or...
Well, that's where things get interesting.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Because unlike pantheons, say like the Greek gods, where each deity has this clearly defined role,
Yeah.
the Anunnakis are a little more fluid.
Interesting.
Depending on the text, their numbers and their responsibility, they kind of shift around. They could be these high-ranking deities, deciding humanity's fate one minute,
Right.
then hanging out in the underworld as judges of the dead the next.
Oh, wow. So even back then, there was already this mystery surrounding them.
Oh, absolutely.
Always.
I bet that's part of why their story's still so captivating, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And here's another layer to add to the intrigue.
Okay, lay it on me.
The Anunnaki, they weren't worshipped as like a single entity.
Oh, interesting.
You wouldn't find some temple dedicated to the Anunnaki.
Right.
Instead, they were revered as individual gods and goddesses.
Okay.
Each with their own unique stories.
That makes sense.
Cults, powers.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons we see such variation in their depictions. That makes a lot of sense. It's not just one story they're woven into. It's countless narratives across Mesopotamian mythology. And speaking of stories, there's one group we often hear associated with the Anunnaki.
Yeah.
The Igigi.
Igigi, yeah.
Can you shed some light on who they are and how they fit in with everything?
The Igigis are interesting
Okay.
because their relationship with the Anunnaki, it's not always so clear-cut.
Really?
Yeah, in some texts, they seem almost interchangeable, while in others, the Igis are depicted as lesser gods or even, divine servants to the Anunnaki.
Okay, so even more layers to peel back here.
Always more layers.
We've got this powerful lineage,
You're right.
flexible hierarchy, and this connection to these other intriguing beings, the Igigi. But what I think really draws people to the Anunnaki is this idea that they were actually involved in shaping human destiny.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what that involvement actually looked like, right?
Right.
To the ancient Mesopotamians.
Yeah.
Were they like benevolent guides, stern overseers,
Well, it's interesting.
or something in between?
The thing is, with the Mesopotamian worldview, their gods weren't seen as these distant, unknowable entities.
Right.
They were believed to be physically present,
Wow.
dwelling in their temples,
Okay.
actively influencing daily life.
So imagine that for a second.
Yeah,
A world where the line between the divine and like the mundane is blurred,
right.
where kings are claiming direct lineage to the gods. Temples are seen as their literal homes here on Earth.
It's wild, right?
It wasn't just about myths and legends.
Right.
It was about these beings directly impacting their world.
Exactly.
No wonder the Anunnaki's supposed involvement in human affairs is so compelling.
Totally. And it wasn't just a hands-off approach either.
Oh, really?
No. They were very much involved.
Okay.
Take Inanna, for example.
Inanna.
She's a fascinating figure.
Okay.
Often associated with love, fertility,
All right.
but also war and political power.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
Right. So her stories, they're full of passion, intrigue, even violence.
Wow.
It showcases the complex,
Right.
sometimes contradictory nature of the Anunnaki.
It really does.
Yeah.
She sounds like a deity who knew what she wanted,
Oh, for sure.
and she wasn't afraid to go after it.
Definitely not.
And it wasn't just Inanna. Right. This whole idea of the Anunnaki actively shaping human destiny pops up again and again.
It does. And this kind of ties into this whole Mesopotamian concept of me,
Okay, me.
which is essentially a set of divine rules governing the universe.
Okay.
And the Anunnaki, in many stories, they're the ones who bestow these laws upon humanity.
Wow.
So dictating everything from, social order to morality.
So they weren't just shaping destiny in a, broad sense.
No.
They were involved in the, nitty-gritty details
Nitty-gritty, yeah, exactly.
of human existence.
They were very hands-on gods.
Okay, so we've got these powerful deities.
Yes.
Directly influencing the human world, even laying down the law.
It's a lot.
It's easy to see how this could lead to some pretty dramatic interpretations.
Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of interpretations, I think it's time we address the elephant-sized spaceship in the room.
Here we go.
Those Anunnaki conspiracy theories.
Right. Can't talk about the Anunnaki without going there.
Exactly. And no one has done more to popularize those theories than Zecharia Sitchin.
Sitchin, yeah, he's a big one.
His book, The 12th Planet, basically threw the Anunnaki into the cosmic deep end,
Into the deep end.
claiming they were actually aliens from a planet called Nibiru.
A planet, by the way, that has yet to be discovered by any astronomer, I might add.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. But Sitchin took those already complex Anunnaki narratives
Right.
and added his own unique spin, let's say, reinterpreting those ancient texts to suggest that these supposed aliens came to Earth eons ago
Right.
in search of, and here's where it gets really interesting, gold.
Gold. As if those ancient gold masks and intricate jewelry weren't clue enough. So, what was on Sitchin's, cosmic shopping list? Why gold?
Well, according to Sitchin, these Anunnaki, they needed gold to repair their planet's atmosphere.
Okay.
And because even advanced extraterrestrials need a labor force, they decided to create humans.
What?
Yeah, through genetic engineering.
No.
Essentially a cosmic mining crew.
Hold on. So we went from divine beings shaping human destiny to, an intergalactic mining operation.
It's a bit of a jump, isn't it?
Talk about a career change. But I'm guessing those theories didn't exactly go over well with, actual scholars of ancient Mesopotamia.
Let's just say Sitchin's interpretations have been met with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Okay, healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah, I mean, while entertaining, they do rely on a rather creative, shall we say, reading of the Sumerian texts.
Can you give us an example of where his interpretations kind of go off course?
Well, one example is Sitchin's translation of the word Dingiar,
Okay.
which he interpreted as righteous ones of the rockets.
Righteous ones of the rockets.
Yeah, most scholars, though, they translate this term as the noble ones or the gods.
Which makes a lot more sense.
Right, referring to their elevated status rather than any association with, spacecraft.
So more of a misinterpretation of, ancient poetry than hard evidence of spaceships.
Pretty much.
But even though Sitchin's ideas haven't exactly held up to scholarly scrutiny, they've definitely captured a lot of people's imaginations. Why do you think that is?
It is fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
Part of it might be our innate desire, right? To find explanations for the unknown.
Oh, totally. We love a good mystery.
Right. And the Anunnaki, with their ancient origins and their kind of ambiguous motives,
Yeah.
they provide this perfect blank canvas for people seeking those answers,
Right.
even if those answers venture into the realm of speculation.
We're hardwired to, weave stories, right?
Okay.
To connect the dots, find meaning, even if those connections are more cosmic conspiracy than historical fact.
Exactly. And, Sitchin wasn't the first or last to kind of reinterpret these ancient myths through a modern lens,
That's true.
It speaks to this larger human tendency to grapple with questions of creation, power, our place in, the grand scheme of things.
It seems like the Anunnaki, these enigmatic beings born from the separation of heaven and earth, they continue to spark our curiosity, fuel our imaginations, and maybe even reveal something about ourselves in the process.
Well said.
So, what's the takeaway for you, the listener? There's clearly more to the Anunnaki than we could ever cover in one deep dive. But what resonates with you most about their story? Is it their connection to the cosmos, their influence on ancient Mesopotamian society, or maybe their modern-day reincarnation in those conspiracy theories? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows, you might just stumble upon your own fascinating interpretation of the Anunnaki's enduring legacy.